Hey everyone, welcome on this Thursday evening to my channel. I know it takes a second for folks to get the notification from YouTube, but we are live tonight. I'll introduce myself, I guess. So I am Marissa Price. I am a social worker, healer, online business educator, and the purpose of this channel is to help educate people about how to get free, whether that's from toxic work environments like we're going to talk about tonight, toxic countries, anything that has your freedom as a priority. That is the goal of this channel. So with that, I will pass it over to my wonderful guest, Jacquie Abram, to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her YouTube channel.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm just excited to be here. As you know, I've been chasing you for a while. I found your YouTube channel and I said, I have got to meet this woman because she is somebody that's near and dear to my heart for the work you do. But just real quick, I am Jacquie Abram. I am the international best-selling and award-winning author of Hush Money: How One Woman Proved Systemic Racism in Her Workplace and Kept Her Job. Marissa, as you know, this is a book that I wrote from a very dark place after my six-figure career in higher education was ultimately killed by racist. And I found myself so psychologically damaged after nearly 20 years and nearly 5 times having my career derailed by racists, losing everything, my home, my income, not being able to provide for and feed my family, and literally, just finding myself homeless with these 2 girls. I was so psychologically damaged by the end of my nearly 20-year career that I was contemplating homicide. Okay. I really planned to do some harm to my last boss. And, I was also contemplating suicide. But here's the thing, Marissa. In that nearly 20-year time frame, as my career was repeatedly derailed, I never walked away from a single job empty-handed because, Marissa, I knew how to fight. I knew how to fight. I was exceptional at fighting back. And I got multiple 6-figure settlements for not only myself, but a lot of the people that I helped. And most of it I did without an attorney. But I got tired. I was racially tired, okay, of having to fight and claw my way into a career that other people seem to get so freely. I wanted to get a job because I was exceptional at my job.
Right.
And I wanted to stay in that job and possibly retire. And after having my career derailed, 5 times, I was exhausted, but I knew how to fight. I was exceptional at fighting back. And so that's where Hush Money came from. Hush Money is a survival guide for Black folks, okay? It shows and teaches Black employees how I repeatedly took down all of these different racist, toxic organizations, never walked away single-handed, and it teaches the strategies that I used. But in addition to Hush Money, I mean, this is where it started, Marissa. But what actually put me on the path to healing was actually talking about what happened to me and then teaching other Black women and other Black men who were dealing with these racist, toxic employers and bosses how to fight back. And so, as I was just telling you, I was a guest on Dr. Kimani's show. And there were 2 women who watched that show and are now my clients. And so I'm writing their discrimination complaints for them as we speak. And I'm their on-call doctor. When something is happening at work, they call me, they say, this is what just happened, and I tell them how to handle it. And I am fighting their battles for them behind the scene, because when you work with me, you don't need an attorney. So there's
Mm,
nobody to split your settlements with if you get those settlements. And I've gotten people plenty of settlements.
that's so key. Because, like
Mhm.
we were talking about before we went live, a lot of us feel like we have to have money for attorney's fees if we
Right.
do want to pursue, legal action, because that's often presented to us as the only course that we can take. So with you saying like, no, you don't actually need that if you,
No.
follow my advice and follow the guidance in the book. Yeah.
So think about it this way.
Hmm.
In most cases, an employment attorney who is willing to take on your case, they're going to take it on a contingency basis, meaning they're not going to get paid unless they believe that they can win your case, okay? But in order for them to feel that they can win your case, you've got to hand them a perfectly laid case for them to consider, okay?
Right. Hmm.
A lot of our Black folks and, Black brothers and sisters, they know that they're experiencing discrimination. They know that they're in a racially hostile work environment. They know that they're suffering from race-based harassment, but they don't know how to put it all together. They don't know how to collect the evidence. They don't know how to weaponize email. They don't know how to use medical leave to create a wall between them and their employer. They don't know how to stop dealing with the minions down here, okay, and to
Hmm.
go above that. And they don't know that there's another option for filing a formal discrimination complaint, not with the feds, but with the state.
Hmm.
And so, because they don't know all of these things, they don't know how to prepare a laid case for an attorney to consider. So a lot of our people just run from job to job to job. It looks like they're job hopping. They're walking away empty handed. They don't know how to fight. And, what people don't realize is they're not job hopping. They're just looking for a place where they can actually not only survive working while Black, but also thrive. And so if you don't have that case laid for an attorney who is willing to take you on a contingency basis, you are walking away empty handed. And so that's where I come in.
Hmm.
I give you the help that you can't get from an attorney. I get in the mud with you. I am your on-call doctor. I write your discrimination complaint. I review your evidence. I tell you how to create new evidence out of thin air. Okay?
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
and I'm really, really, really good at what I do. And
Hmm.
so, like I said, many of the six-figure settlements that I've gotten, not only for me, but for other people that I help, there's no need to have an attorney, because by the time that case is laid, you don't need an attorney. So there's no attorney taking 35 to 45% of your settlement. And I'm doing all of your background negotiations. I'm negotiating your punitive damages. So when that company realizes how airtight your case is, because I've been doing the work for you behind the scene, and they
Hmm.
decide that they want to settle with you,
Yeah.
I help you negotiate your own punitive damages. Do you know what punitive damages are?
I don't.
Okay. And a
Mm-mm.
lot of people don't. So I will share this
Hmm.
with you.
Yeah.
I negotiate my own punitive damages, and the people that
Mm.
I work with, I negotiate theirs too. So, because of the emotional stress that you have been under, that you have endured, you are um, suffering from severe anxiety, you are
Hmm.
depressed, you are
Yeah.
having sleepless nights, you are gaining weight, your hair is falling out, you dread going to work every day because of the new attacks that will come at you, that you don't know
Yeah.
which direction they're coming from, because modern day racism is not what it used to
Ooh.
be. All
Yes.
right. You're
Hmm.
not just dealing with one racist leader targeting you. One racist leader targets you, but then that leader, because of their power, their influence, and their authority, They inspire other people in the organization to conspire with them. And now you've got everybody and their cousin helping this racist leader kill your career. You got HR helping the racist leader kill your career. Other Black folks, some of my worst bosses were Black women, okay, who were upholding a white supremacist ideology.
Yes.
That racist leader inspired my employee to turn on me, and now my employee is setting me up because my racist leader promised my employee my job, okay? Then you've got people in the other department. So now you've got a whole mix of folks that are watching your comings and going, seeing what time you come to work, seeing what time you leave, checking your electronic activity, putting you under 24-hour, electronic surveillance. You got people putting obstacles in your path, preventing you from doing your job and making it impossible for you to succeed. And by the time they're all done working together, you have either resigned to try to save your sanity,
Yes.
or they have successfully set you up to be fired. And see, a lot of our people lose their jobs without fully understanding why. But see, I know this. And that's why I created a survival guide. Okay. I created a survival guide. And this is how you fight back against the minions. Okay. That's what I call them, the minions. So,
yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I did want to read a comment here. I just got called the N-word by a customer this week at work. I reported it, but of course, nothing will happen. I am so sorry to hear that.
Me too.
Yeah, I know that is the case for a lot of folks, especially in customer service. So I am so sorry that happened to you.
Okay, and I'm sorry too, but let me go ahead and put on my my hat.
Please,
here. This person called you the N-word. Did you put it in writing and report it? Because if it was just a verbal reporting, then it's your word against theirs if you're trying to fight. One of the things that I teach in my books and the people that I work with is the E in email stands for evidence. Okay, that's my motto. The E in email stands for evidence. So no matter what is happening, whether it's good, it's bad, or it's ugly, everything verbal gets converted into something written and tangible that I can use for evidence later on. So in that example, when the person called you the N-word, did you type up an email, send it to HR, and copy the person who called you the N-word? That's very important. A lot of times we will make these complaints to HR and we'll do it correctly in writing, but we don't copy the offender. And so it reduces the credibility of what you're saying. So whenever I do, and I have to laugh about this, what I'm about to say, because what I do, especially when I'm writing a discrimination complaint, okay? If I have done my due diligence, which I always do, and I have collected all of the evidence, okay? And I am now ready to fight this company. I'm going to write an ironclad discrimination complaint, which my book teaches you how to do that. But instead of sending it to HR, because remember, HR is a minion, okay? HR is down here working with the other minions. They're all covering each other's backs. So I'm going to write this discrimination complaint, okay? And I'm going to jump over everybody's head in the organization. Everybody. I'm not dealing with the minions, and I am jumping way over everybody's head. I'm going to send this email to the CEO of the parent company that owns the company I work at.
Okay.
I'm going to copy the board of directors, any board of directors I can find. And then, as an extra special something that I just love to add, and it makes me laugh every time I add it, I'm going to copy all the racist, toxic tormentors, the ones that have been tormenting me, so that they see what I have done and they know they can no longer contain this at the minion level, because
Mhm.
I've now jumped over everyone else's head in the organization. I've gone as high as you can go up the chain, and then I brought the state into the loop. So now you've got the state, the government. No company wants the government poking around their organization. And so
Right.
that's what you do to stop the minions and to start flipping that trajectory so you get the upper hand. Can I read you a little something?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read you something on page 112, somewhere
Mhm.
around there. Okay. So, my book is based on my experiences working in one organization, okay?
Mhm.
Now let me just be clear with everybody. So, here you go, hush money. How
Mhm.
one woman proved systemic racism in her workplace and kept her job. There are no other books. There are two of them that go together that lay out
Mhm.
an explosive strategy. There's not another set of books like this anywhere. And the reason, Marissa, is that oftentimes, when a Black employee is successful with fighting back against the organization that is tormenting them, okay,
Mhm.
that organization knows, okay, that if it were to get out, it could do an enormous amount of damage to their character and their reputation as an employer. And
Mhm.
so that's when they offer to settle with you. That's where those big settlements come
Ah.
from.
Okay.
Okay. But here's the thing, before they give you that nice big fat check to buy your silence,
Mhm.
they're going to give you something else. Okay. They're going to give you a non disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement to
Right.
guarantee your silence so that you can't go out and tell the world what happened to you in their organization. So, yes, I signed their agreement. I took
Mhm.
their big fat check. I took their hush money. But guess what? I was smart. And I still found a way to tell the world what happened to me and how I fought back. And the way that I did
Mm.
that was I created an avatar. So my book
Oh.
is
Mhm.
fictionalized, inspired by true events.
Right.
And I created a character by the name of Ebony to tell the world what happened to me and
Mm.
how I fought back, because I wanted to teach our people, Marissa. I'm not getting any younger. I've got
Mm.
two grown kids. One is 35 and one is 31. I've got
Mhm.
four grandkids, and I'm not getting any younger. And I want our
Yeah.
people to stop walking away from their jobs empty handed. I want our people to start fighting, because you can win. And there is nothing more satisfying than watching that racist piece of you know what that
Mhm.
tried to get you out of your job lose
Yeah.
theirs. Because when you get these big settlements, these six-figure settlements, those companies frown upon that. And
Mhm.
so after they get you out of the way, they go back and deal with the people who caused them to have to go deep in their pockets. And there's something especially satisfying and gratifying about that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so let me just
Mhm.
read you something real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
This is right out of my
Mhm.
book, Hush Money.
Mhm.
So after Ebony was tormented by these racist, I mean, just racist, toxic leaders. Okay.
Mhm.
She made a lot of mistakes, you know. And like I said, this book is based on me. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, so I wasn't perfect. But I
Right.
learned from my mistakes. And as my environments changed, I kept getting smarter. Okay. And
Mhm.
so now I am an expert. And
Mhm.
so in this book, Ebony, She started getting smarter, and she stopped dealing with the minions down at this level, and she
Mhm.
jumped way over everyone's head. So let me just read to you what she did.
Mhm.
She said, let's see. Let me find what I want to read to you here.
Mhm.
Let's see. When I got home from the doctor, I called Gabrielle to make sure everything went okay with Mom. Then I took the email documentation I had been collecting since the day Dr. Taylor was hired, put the evidence in chronological order by date, and renamed each piece of evidence Attachment 1, Attachment 2, Attachment 3, and so on. Then, using the information contained in my daily log to jog my memory of everything that happened over the last 5 years, I drafted my formal discrimination complaint email containing ironclad proof of racial discrimination. Because I had so much evidence, it took me almost 7 hours to draft the email. And since I trusted absolutely no one at the campus level, the national level, or the corporate level, this time I was going to jump over everyone's head and email my complaint directly to the CEO at corporate. And because I didn't trust her either, and there was no one else in a higher position at corporate, I did some research and obtained the names and email addresses of 3 people on the board of directors, and I was going to copy them on my email, as well as Aaron Burns, the chief student finance officer at corporate, who tried to help me, and Tiffany Mathers, the national director of human resources, whose lack of action resulted in additional retaliation. With so many people in the know, there was no way anyone could ignore my complaint. And even if they tried to, I was okay with that because I had collected enough evidence proving systemic racism and racial discrimination in my workplace and was ready to file a formal racial discrimination complaint with the State of Texas Workforce Commission Civil Rights Division and retain an attorney if necessary. The email I drafted was 17 pages long and contained 59 pages of evidence in the form of emails from Dr. Taylor, emails from Logan McDougall, emails pertaining to my outstanding performance, pictures of awards I received, my outstanding performance review, before and after audit reports, emails I sent to various people, and my daily log, which provided a detailed chronological description of every discriminatory conversation and discriminatory event that had occurred while I was employed at the Temple campus. At 9:02 p.m., I emailed the following discrimination complaint to Charlotte Bryce, the CEO at corporate. Dear Miss Bryce, my name is Ebony Ardawan, and I am a Black employee who was originally hired at Daybron Career Institute in January 2012 as the senior secretary at the Austin campus. In April 2013, I was demoted to student finance advisor at the Austin campus, and in July 2015, I was promoted to director of student finance at the Temple campus, where I was the only Black employee in a management position until November 2016. In March 2017, I was promoted to Senior Director of Student Finance at the Temple campus, and this is the position I currently hold. Although my career at Daybron has progressed over the years, I continue to have problems with campus-level supervisors, executives in the Daybron system, and coworkers, which have been the result of both veiled and blatant racial discrimination. The most recent incident occurred today. Furthermore, the chancellor has communicated her racist preferences to my white employee, as well as my direct supervisor and others, creating a racially hostile work environment for me. I am sending this email to you, along with supporting attachments, in an attempt to internally resolve my discrimination issues in lieu of filing a formal racial discrimination complaint with the Texas Workforce Commission Civil Rights Division and retaining an attorney. My complaint, which documents the racial discrimination, racially hostile work environment, racially based preferential treatment of my white employee, and retaliation, is based on the following. Then, over the next 17 pages of the email, I provided a factual breakdown in chronological order of every discriminatory event that had occurred, starting from the day I was hired as the senior secretary of the Austin campus. The breakdown included the discriminatory acts committed by Ms. Kelly in 2012, 2013, and 2014, continued with the discriminatory acts committed by Malcolm Webb and Ms. Kelly in 2015, listed the discriminatory acts committed by Kyle Sharon in 2016, and finished with the back-to-back discriminatory acts committed by Dr. Taylor, Logan McDougall, and Michael Sullivan in 2016 and 2017. For each discriminatory act that I listed in the email, I included the number of the attachment that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that what I was saying was true. The email ended with the following information: the racial discrimination, racially hostile work environment, racially based preferential treatment of my white employee, retaliation, failure to promote me to National Director of Student Finance, and Abram's failure to properly address the issues detailed in this and previous discrimination complaints in accordance with Texas state law, as well as its own anti-discrimination and harassment policies, has caused me severe and extreme anguish, panic attacks, physical and emotional exhaustion, anxiety, depression, humiliation, anger, nervousness, sleeplessness, embarrassment, fear, and severe emotional distress. I am currently on a medical leave of absence, expected to return back to work on June 14th, 2017, and am terrified to return to a campus where unrelenting harassment, discrimination, and retaliation are the theme of the day. And since I previously reported the discrimination I was enduring to Tiffany Mathers, the corporate director of HR, on May 23rd, and suffered retaliation due to her lack of action, I have lost all confidence in corporate's ability to protect me or prevent further discrimination and harassment upon my return to work. As I previously mentioned, at this time I have not filed a formal racial discrimination complaint with the Texas Workforce Commission Civil Rights Division, nor retained an attorney, because I am hopeful we can come to a resolution internally that satisfies both parties and makes me whole. And so when you write it up that way, you put the physical, emotional, and mental harm that you have endured. When you tell them you are looking for an internal resolution that makes you whole, that is code for let's talk about settling.
Ooh.
And
Yes.
And so it's a very, very powerful way to write your complaint, but you've got to collect the evidence, and a lot of people don't know how to collect it. So that's what I teach. That's what my books teach. My books are not just telling you another story about systemic racism. They are a survival guide that teaches you how to fight back in your toxic environment and actually not walk away empty-handed.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you. I did want to ask you, just following up, Mira, she said she told her supervisor, gave him his phone number and address, but he never followed up. Would this be a case that you would say that you would need to go to a higher level?
So it doesn't sound like she put it in an email. Okay. She said, I told my supervisor. To me, that means a verbal conversation. So the very first thing you need to do is put that whole situation in writing. You want to send it to HR or your boss, whoever you gave it to. And because it's now in the past, you want to say just a quick note to recap the discussion we had on the phone or in your office on whatever date it was. Per our conversation, I informed you that so-and-so called me the N-word. At that time, you said that you would complete a good faith investigation into this issue. And so I'm following up in writing to find out the status of your investigation or what the next steps are so that I do not suffer future harm. So you see how I've taken that verbal situation and I've turned it into something tangible that I can now use that says on this date, this time, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm. That's key.
Everything has to be converted to tangible evidence, and not just when the bad stuff is happening, when the good stuff is happening too. So let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
If you and I are walking down the hall together and you say, Jacquie, great job on that presentation you gave this morning about covert racism and how it's just like an iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
The minute you give me that compliment, I'm going to thank you. And then I'm going to run back to my office. I'm going to open up an email and the subject is going to say, thank you. And I'm going to say, Dear Marissa, thank you for the compliment you gave me on the outstanding presentation I gave on the iceberg this morning when we were walking down the hall together. It made my heart feel great to know that you found value in my content or in my experiences. So I'm giving you a nice little harmless thank you. Now, you get that email and you will either respond and say, no worries, you deserved it. Or you may not respond at all. And even if you don't respond, it doesn't matter. I now have this tangible piece of evidence that says on this date, at this time, you said I was doing a good job. And if you really didn't think I wasn't doing a good job, or if you wanted to pretend like you didn't say that, then the onus is on you to respond back to my email and say so. See, a lot of these leaders think that if they pretend like they never got your email, they ignore it, they don't respond, then that absolves them of guilt, and it doesn't. It doesn't. Because in their role, it is their responsibility to be on top of their emails, okay? So we know it was delivered. We know you got it. And if you didn't agree with what I said, it was on you to say so, and you did not. So this is evidence.
Okay. Ooh, I'm learning so much. Thank you.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
One of the most heartbreaking things that I see our people do. Oftentimes, and let me just tell you, I'm a very smart woman. I will tell you, I am a very smart woman. And I was exceptional at my job, okay?
Yeah.
And so you have to sit back and ask yourself, what kind of conditions would drive a seemingly well-together, exceptional woman to be on the verge of homicide and suicide, okay?
Yes.
Okay. And it is what modern day racism has become, okay? And so let me just help your audience understand what they're dealing with, okay? You're not dealing with the type of racism you typically see in movies and books and TV shows that always focus on the type of racism from decades ago that you could easily spot. It was over. You knew exactly what you were dealing with. In the workplace, it's not like that. Okay, racism has morphed into this hidden way of breaking down a Black person, but doing it in such a way that they can't tell what they're experiencing is racism. Okay?
Yeah.
So let me tell you how that works. When you get a new job, so it's either a new job or a job that you've been promoted into. Think about how you bake a cake. You know, you have this big bowl, right? And you're pouring ingredients into that bowl. So it actually works the same way racism wise in the workplace. A racist leader with power, influence, and authority notices you. And if you're really good at your job like I was, then they really notice you. Okay.
Yeah.
Notices you and decides that you do not deserve the position that you hold. And they want to get you out of that position.
Yes.
So they will inspire others to conspire with them. And That includes your boss. If it's not your boss pulling the strings, sometimes it's your boss, but sometimes in my case, it's somebody higher, okay, that
Mm-hmm.
is a racist and don't want me in this high position that I have because I was earning six figures, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so the very first type of covert racism they pour into that cake bowl is something that I call set up to fail. Now,
Mm.
let me tell you how set up to fail works, okay?
Yeah.
With set up to fail, you are given this great job, but your supervisor intentionally trains you the wrong way about how to do your job. Okay. So instead of giving you all of the right information that they know is vital to your success, they start steering you the wrong way immediately by teaching you wrong information about how to do your job. And so when you're taught the wrong information, you're going to make mistakes because you've been trained wrong. Now, when you start making the mistakes that they know you're going to make because they've trained you incorrectly on purpose, they're documenting your mistakes because they need tangible proof that you're making mistakes so that they can start setting you up to be fired, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So they start setting you up to fail by giving you the wrong information, giving you subpar equipment to do your job, equipment that doesn't work quite right. In my case, they gave me a computer that was older than dirt. I'm convinced it was found in an archaeological dig somewhere.
Wow.
Okay.
Ooh.
So
Mm-hmm.
my computer was freezing all day long. I couldn't get anything done. And they're comparing me to this white director over here who's in the same job. He has the same job title and he's
Right.
killing it. He's doing his financials, he's doing his reports, he's managing his day because he's got great equipment. And they gave me this equipment that's older than dirt. Plus, they gave me the wrong information about how to do my job. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody on the leadership team that's Black but me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to explain to people what I'm dealing with, what I'm going through. Something's not right. They all are the minions. They're all in on it. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
HR is telling me, well, it sounds like you're making excuses because so and so over here is doing just fine. And he's in the same job. He was trained by the same person. So you may want to consider whether or not this job is the right fit for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been set up to fail, but I don't quit easily. I'm making six figures, okay? I'm not going to walk away from this job. I'm going to give it my best. So I'm trying to teach myself how to do my own job. I'm
Yep.
doing hours and hours and hours of research, calling people, trying to figure out how to do this job. And I'm making progress figuring out how to do my job.
Yeah.
So that's when, remember that cake bowl?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
when they add the next type of covert racism into the batter and they start stirring it. So now, not only am I trying to learn this job that nobody's teaching me how to do, I'm struggling with this. And now they've added something I call the Black Workhorse to the mix.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yep. All too
That's
familiar. Yep.
that's the next type of covert racism. So now
Yeah.
I'm dealing with both of these at the same time. Okay. So how does the Black Workhorse work? With the Black Workhorse, that job description you were given that said you were responsible for doing all these duties and all other duties as assigned? Well, because you're Black and you've been dehumanized and that racist leader doesn't really think you're human,
Yep.
he believes you can carry a workload that no other human can carry because you were built for hard labor. He thinks you can work stronger and harder and faster than all the other humans that are there because you're not human. You've been dehumanized. And so as the weeks and the months go by, your racist leader, your toxic leader, starts piling all this extra work on your plate. Projects that this racist leader used to do, They've
Mm-hmm.
now added that to your plate, okay? The manager quit in the other department. They've made you the interim manager for that department. So now you're doing your job and this manager's job over here. And then they've added all these other general weird duties to your plate. And before you know it, your workload is so heavy that your back is about to break or you fall to your knees because you're not doing the work of one person anymore. You're doing the work of two, three, sometimes four people. And you're not getting paid to do all that extra work because your salary or there's a no overtime policy, but the expectation that you do it is now a part of you. And if you can't keep up with it, your job is at risk. So you're making mistakes because you're racially exhausted, you're tired, you still don't know how to do your job 100% over here. Now you've got all these other duties that they've added to your plate. It's breaking you down. In my case, I started gaining all this weight, okay? I gained
Mm-hmm.
40 pounds of weight in 3 months due to stress. My hair
Yeah.
started falling out. I was panicking all the time. I could barely sleep.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
And by this point, I wanted to get out of that department, okay? So I start looking at the intranet like most people do,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because you've convinced yourself that it's not the company. If I can just get away from this racist leader, this
Yes.
toxic leader, I'm going to be okay. I like the company. The company pays me well. They give me good benefits. I'm able to provide for my kids, okay?
Right.
So you start searching the internet,
Mm-hmm.
looking for internal job openings that you can apply for because you want to
Yeah.
stay in this company, okay?
Yeah.
You find a job on that intranet that you know you're qualified for.
Yep.
But in most companies, especially companies in the US, you've got to do two things, okay? You have to tell your boss you want to apply for this job opening, and your boss has to approve it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So most people, they go to their boss and they say, I'm interested in this job opening that's in so and so's department. You cover it up. You don't tell them I'm trying to get away from you. You cover it up and you say, it looks like a really great professional development opportunity for me. And
Mm-hmm.
to your face, your boss says, Jacquie, absolutely. Feel free to apply. You've got all the right skills. You would be great in that new position. Of course, you have my approval. So
Right.
you're excited now, okay? You're excited because you've gotten the approval of your boss. So you eagerly apply for that open internal position. Now, here's where, remember that cake bowl I was telling you about?
Mm-hmm.
Here's where the next type of covert racism is added to the mix, and it's all stirred together. So
Mm.
the minute you leave your boss, that boss has a conversation with the hiring manager in the department you're trying to get into. That conversation is on email or by text or by phone or by Skype or in person, but
Mm-hmm.
somehow a conversation is had. And your boss tells this hiring manager in the department you're trying to get into, you know, you and I have a great relationship and I have a lot of respect for you. So I just gave Jacquie the approval to apply for your open position, but I just had to give you a heads up. I'm having some problems with Jacquie. She is a troublemaker. She's loud,
Mm.
very disruptive to the team. She don't come to work on time. I can't even get her to come to meetings on time. And so she's given this hiring manager all of this negative yah about you, and you don't get the job. And so now you're back in frantic mode. You're applying for internal position after internal position, okay? I applied for 7 different positions in this one organization, okay? 7 different positions, and no one would touch me with a 10-foot pole. That is why I call this the silent sabotage, because to your face, your boss is supportive, but behind your back, this boss is silently sabotaging your efforts because they don't want you to get away. There's something fundamentally wrong with them, and they enjoy getting their jollies out of tormenting you.
Yes.
Okay, humiliating you, breaking you down like you're a horse. You know, they get enjoyment out of that, and they don't want you to get away. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, if it's silent, Jacquie, how do you know this is happening? So remember I told you I was earning 6 figures in higher education? I was earning 6 figures because I was a senior director. I was the director in the other department Black folks were trying to transfer into. And every time somebody tried to transfer in, that toxic racist leader came and had a conversation with me, telling me all the problems with that employee. So now when I am now confronted and I've got a racist leader who's come into the organization because my great boss that I got along with left, moved to another state, and now I've got a new boss and this boss is a racist. Now I'm trying to get away from my boss and I'm trying to transfer into other departments. And now the same thing is happening to me. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Right.
Okay. And there are so many other types of covert racism. If there's anybody listening to this today, go to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to support my efforts. But then I want you to watch the video. I call it, you know how they are always talking about unconscious bias in these DEI trainings?
Oh, yes.
So what's happening to us is not unconscious, it's unconscionable. They are aware of what they're doing to us, okay? They know, they are fully aware. And so I want you to go to my YouTube channel and watch the video that's called From Unconscious to Unconscionable, Understanding Covert Racism in the Workplace. It's going to open your eyes in ways that you never imagined. I really break it down and I show you what you're dealing with. Okay, but there is a way to fight back, guys. And there, I promise you, if you do exactly what I show you to do here, and if you need help, you reach out to me, because like I said, Dr. Kimani brought me on her show, and 2 of her audience watchers are now my clients, and I'm writing their discrimination complaints and fighting their battles behind the scene as we speak. I can help you. I know what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I did want to highlight a comment right here, because I know a lot of us have maybe left toxic jobs in the past. Is there like a limit, a time limit to where you can go back and do this?
Unfortunately, there is a time limit. So, you know, it varies state to state, but most states require that you notify the state government, okay, within 180 days from the date the incident occurred. So that's not a lot of time. You know, there was a time where you could allow evidence to accumulate, okay? That has changed in recent years. But here's the thing. It depends on the state government agency. In Texas, they have the Texas Workforce Commission, okay? Civil Rights Division. And it depends on the agent that you're dealing with. It depends on how vocal written you were with declaring that you were experiencing discrimination. Let me give you an example. There was a woman that I helped get a 6-figure settlement about 6 months ago. And she had read both of my books. She followed them to the letter. And so every time something happened to her, She was shooting off an email to HR and saying, I don't know, but this feels like racial discrimination to me. And then, 30 days later, a couple of other things happen. She says, I shudder to think about it, but this sure feels like racial discrimination. And because she was saying it so often, and they could see that there was a clear pattern of this woman telling them that she was being discriminated against that went outside of that 180 days, she was able to keep all of that in her complaint with the state. And so the biggest thing is you've got to show that you were consistently calling it what it was. I've got a client right now, it breaks my heart. She was afraid to call it what it was. And so she was dancing around. She didn't want to say the race. She didn't want to say racial discrimination. She didn't want to say racially hostile work environment. She said, I'm experiencing some challenges. But see, if you're not calling it what it is, that hurts you. You have to call it what it is, and you've got to do it in writing. They say you can do it verbally, but when you do things verbally, it's their word against yours. You've got no proof. You've got no evidence. And one of the most heartbreaking things that I see, biggest mistakes I see our people making is with FMLA, medical leave.
Ooh, yes.
Things get so bad at work, where you're suffering. Okay. Your mental, emotional, and your physical health is at risk. And you need a break from that toxic environment because every day there's some new attack. And so what ends up happening is that you go on medical leave and you have convinced yourself that when I'm on medical leave, that's going to give me time to breathe. And hopefully by the time I go back to work, things will have calmed down and will be better.
Yes.
But that never happens. All you did when you went on medical leave was give the minions time to finish setting you up. You gave them the quiet time they needed. They've moved full steam ahead and going through your documents, going through your emails, removing anything that you could use against them, okay?
Right.
They have completed setting you up so that by the time you return back to work, it's not even 2 or so months before you find yourself out of a job. Okay. Now, that's usually what will happen unless you've read my book and you have put a wall between you and that company while you were on medical leave. So that when you return to work from medical leave, they are afraid to fire you. They are afraid to touch you. Because anything they do after that, it's retaliation. And so that's why you have to put that wall, and my book shows you how to do it, between you and your employer before you go back to work.
Right. Because that is what I experienced, right? I took FMLA because I was in I had all this work piled on me. I was doing like 2 jobs at once. And it just got to the point where I was burned out naturally. And so I took FMLA and I had no idea about this. So this is so helpful, I know. And I hope this, helps people who may be considering taking FMLA if you're stressed.
Yes. Don't take FMLA without talking to me or reading my book. And if you want to talk to me, if you want me to help you fight your battles, because I'm very good at it, reach out to me. My email is hushmoneyseries, like the World Series, hushmoneyseries@gmail.com. I will help you. I will be there for you. I will look at your evidence and we will determine whether or not your evidence is satisfactory, what you need to do to create new evidence, and I will start fighting your battles with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I did put your email in the chat too. If anyone wants to reach out, it's right there.
Thank you.
I did want to highlight this comment about workers' comp because I've seen this quite often where the workplace will try to deny those claims. If you have anything to share about that.
I do. And in fact, you're going to love this. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When you are dealing with discrimination, I'll use Ebony, my avatar. Okay. Ebony.
Mm-hmm.
So Ebony was dealing with stress at work and at home. Okay. She was dealing with the racism that she was experiencing in the workplace, but her mother had also been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And so her mother was fighting for her life. And so it was a combination of those two stresses that had Ebony on the brink of suicide and just despair. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because it was a combination of stress from home and stress from work, she was able to get approved for short-term disability. With
Mm-hmm.
short-term disability, she was able to get about 60% of her pay while she was on medical leave, which you can take up to 12 weeks of medical leave and have it paid. Okay. Now, here's the thing. In another job, because remember, in my position, my career has been derailed 5 different times over a 20-year period. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
I never walked away from a single job empty handed. Sometimes you leave that organization because they wrongfully fire you, and then you go back and fight. Okay. Sometimes you leave that organization for whatever reason, and then you go back and fight. Okay. So I always went back and fought. Now, with workman's comp, there was a situation, and I'll just use Ebony as my avatar. So Ebony was in a situation during this 20-year period in which all of the stress, everything that she was experiencing medically wise, was 100% related to the job. And so, because it was 100% work related, they sent her the workman's comp route. But here's the thing, when the company decided that they wanted to settle with Ebony, okay,
Mm-hmm.
workman's comp had to settle with her too. So she ended up getting 2 settlements for the one company, one from the company and one from workman's comp. So if they have sent you the workman's comp route and you have been collecting evidence and you believe you are experiencing racial discrimination, you need to start fighting, because if that company settles with you, workman's comp will settle with you too. They have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I can share about workman's comp.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, yes, I have so many notes. I just want to thank you so much. I know that we're
Mhm.
coming up on time, and I want to be respectful of your time. But I did want to talk about the workshop that you have coming up on Saturday,
Oh,
or
yes.
yeah, called "White Privilege as a Weapon: A Warning for Black Women in Toxic Friendships."
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 things. Um, there is an event. It's going to be an explosive event. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you need to do so for 2 reasons. Number one, you can get notified of this event that basically is a warning for Black women, who find themselves in toxic friendships with women who are not Black. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to actually walk you through what happened to my youngest daughter, what this white woman did to her while they were supposedly best friends, that had my daughter on the brink of suicide after she ruined her business, her opportunities, her relationships, her friendships, and took everything from my daughter. So it's an explosive event. You don't want to miss it. And you will find out what happened when I came into the picture and started fighting for my daughter against this woman who was trying to destroy my daughter's life. So that's one reason you want to subscribe to my channel. The
Mm-hmm.
other reason you want to subscribe to my channel is I've got approximately 20 Audible audiobooks of Hush Money, how one woman proved systemic racism in her workplace and kept her job, and about 20 of its sequel, Hush Money, The Cost of Being Black in Corporate America. Remember, these books go together. This one picks up exactly where this one ended, and together they lay out an explosive strategy for fighting back. And I've got about 20 Audible audiobooks of each that I would like to give away. I can only give them to people in the US and UK. That's all I have. US and UK Audible audiobooks. But if you subscribe to my channel now and you send me an email letting me know that you subscribed, I will respond to your email over the next 24 to 48 hours and give you the link and code to these free audiobooks.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, so you need to do two things: subscribe to my channel, send me an email letting me know that you subscribed, and I will in turn give you these free audiobooks, one book.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I put that information in the chat too, so y'all have that. As we're wrapping up, first of all, again, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen. You were in the chat on one of my lives, and I was just, the gems were just coming. So thank you for
You're
being
welcome.
here.
Thank you.
And sharing this information. I do want to say or ask you if you had any last words or anything that you want to say before we end tonight.
If you want to buy my books, I self-publish, believe it or not. Let me just tell you. My daughters and I self-published. I have two daughters, Deborah and Delilah. And we self-published Hush Money because publishers said there was no market for this kind of book. Okay, that's what they said. We knew they were wrong. We knew there were a lot of Black women, a lot of Black men that were experiencing the same devastation to their lives and careers that we were experiencing. So we self-published. The total cost to publish these books was $22. That's what I invested in publishing these books. Now, 7 months later, 7 months after publishing these books as self-publishers and selling them from the trunk of my car, because we didn't know what to do with the books after we got them. So I put them in the trunk of my car and I sold them at parks and pop-up shops. But 7 months later, they were being read in dozens of countries. I've been featured in Forbes. I've been on ABC News. I've been on Spectrum News. My books are in dozens of countries. It was a #1 Amazon bestseller in Canada and the UK for Best African American Christian Fiction. It's currently #1 on Goodreads right now for Best Eye-Opening African American Women's Fiction and Best Books to Improve Your Social Justice Awareness on Racism. Hush Money is the recipient of the gold medal for the international organization Reader's Favorite that reviews thousands upon thousands of books. We got the gold medal, the highest you can get for the social issues genre. And people in countries that I didn't even know had Black people are winning their settlements using the strategies. Wow. Yes, the strategies in Hush Money. So it's been an amazing journey. It's been a rewarding journey. And now I offer myself to you, my books to show you what you're dealing with and show you the steps of how to fight. But myself, if you need me to be your advocate, if you need me to do the work and to get in the mud with you, I am available for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And they're on Amazon.
Yes. And I did put the link in the chat too.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think that speaks to our ability to take these really painful, traumatic experiences and help other people going through the same thing. Like that continues to amaze me, just the power in that. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank y'all so much for being in the chat and contributing everything that you contributed tonight. It's much appreciated. As we wrap up, again, thank you so much, Jacquie, for being here.
Thank you for having
in the chat. Me. Absolutely. And yes, until next time, y'all. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.